Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alison, the online piano and the online violin tutor. So today I want to talk to you about 4 reasons why playing a variety of music does improve your playing technique. Before I go any further though, I just want to quickly tell you about my 1 to 30 violin course that I have next to me. It's a great course. It's great for beginners. It guarantees to take you from a complete beginner to a very decent, accomplished intermediate player. So I know a lot of you know I have that course already, but a lot of you might be new to this channel and have just come across this video and started following me. Thank you. Welcome to the channel. So let me just tell you a little bit about that to start with, because it really is a good course and it is a guaranteed course as well. I have a 1 to 30 violin course, which is available to purchase from my online shop. I will put links in the description bar underneath. The good thing about my course is that it guarantees to take you from a complete beginner to a very decent and accomplished intermediate player, assuming that you follow my book course. The first 10 lessons are absolutely free, so you can go through them. You can see how far you get after the first 10 lessons. You'll get an idea of my style, how I teach, how I deliver the information and how I educate and everything. And any free resources and PDFs that you need for that particular lesson or the first 10 lessons are linked directly underneath those videos where appropriate. Once you've done the first 10 lessons, you would then move on to Songbook 1, which contains 10 pieces based on all the information that you've learned in the first 10 lessons. After that, you'd move on to Book 2, which is lessons 11 to 20. Once you've done that, then you'd move on to Songbook 2, which is going to be the exact level that you will be by the time you get to lesson 20. Then you'll move on to the next set of 10 lessons, which is more technical stuff, that kind of thing. And then you'll finish off with Songbook 3, which is a culmination of everything that you've learnt. My book course is 100% downloadable, so there are no physical books to ship out to you. I know I have them here, but these are just ones that I've just printed off on my printer at home and I've just bound them together. You know, it's just so I've got something to show you guys when I'm making videos and things. So there's nothing physical to ship out. The second you pay for them, you can be downloading it and you can be getting onto it straight away. So this book course is $60, which I want to say is something like £45 if you're in the UK. Okay, so genres are very different, and you know, genres like classical music, jazz, fiddle, you know, all that kind of thing, modern, they've all got something to kind of bring to the table. So very quickly and very loosely, I just want to nutshell all of these so this video isn't hugely long. But classical is traditional. It's traditionally taught in violin. My course contains a lot of classical music because it is just the best way to learn different techniques. That is, classical music has been going for hundreds of years. When I say classical music, I'm kind of pigeonholing Baroque, Romantic, you know, all of those kind of eras within that classical genre. So that's what I mean when I say classical music. So we're talking Beethoven, Bach, Chopin, Liszt, you know, all the great composers, just to clarify that. So classical music contains a lot of technique. That's how it's been written. Again, it's another conversation piece for another video, but a lot of the music was written back then with all of that kind of thing in mind. So a lot of it is very technically demanding. Some of it is, some of it isn't, depends what you choose. A lot of the classical pieces in the book series I've got, for example, I've got Songbook 2. Some pieces I've written myself, for example. Some are, for example, you've got Hungarian Dance No. 5 by Brahms. I've chosen these pieces specifically because they contain a particular technique that maybe I was talking about in the tutorial book 2 that I wanted to make sure we covered when we came to the Songbook 2. So for example, we were talking about maybe a particular bow technique, and that one specific classical piece of music covers said bow technique. So classical music goes hand in hand with techniques and learning techniques, because you can learn a specific technique on the violin, martelé, bowing, spiccato, staccato, whatever it is on the violin, and you can always find a classical piece of music that will incorporate 1, 2 or more of those techniques so you can use those pieces to practice said technique. So classical music is traditionally really good for learning your basic technique, and when you go to a teacher or you learn from any course, specifically including my course, my 1 to 30 violin course that I spoke about earlier, for example, it's all classical music just because it is the best. It is just the quickest, easy, most efficient way of learning your technique right off the bat. Having said that, that gives you a basis to move on to other music. So that is, I would say, your foundation. But moving on, jazz music. If you were playing jazz violin, we'll keep it specifically to the violin, you're going to be doing a lot of improvisation. You're going to be playing in a lot of different keys quite frequently within the same piece of music. You're going to be playing in a lot of different keys. You're probably going to be playing in lots of modes rather than particular keys. So Ionian mode, Dorian mode, Aeolian mode, Mixolydian mode, whatever mode it is, you know, that piece is going to be in, depending on what you've got. You know, your 12 bar blues, which is kind of an offset to jazz, but we'll kind of just pigeonhole jazz and blues maybe together as a sort of similar kind of genre for the purpose of this video. You're going to be talking about the circle of fifths as well. So jazz is really good for key signatures, improvisation, playing on the fly, just a completely different method and a way of playing from classical music. That's not to say it's any better or worse than classical music. It's just completely different. Classical music, jazz music, fiddle music, modern music, you know, they've all got their kind of variety. So far we're getting a wide variety of music. So the next thing is maybe something like fiddle music. So with fiddle music, it's generally, the music itself is generally quite basic. You're not really going out of first position. You might go into it a touch, maybe second position, but suffice to say, let's just keep it at first position for the purpose of this video. The music that you're playing is generally quite basic, so it's written in basic key signatures. So maybe the key of C, key of A minor, the key of G, you know, the key of F, because it's just that kind of music, and that's fine. That's not a criticism. That is just what fiddle music is. Fiddle music is generally not in the key of A flat major or something like that. It just generally isn't. So the actual music itself is basic and relatively easy. The difficulty with fiddle music is the speed. So fiddle music is really good if you want to get good at speeding up and playing within a certain confines. So if you are playing fiddle music within a band, you had better get your head around that music, because once that band starts playing, it ain't going to be waiting around for you. I've played fiddle music once or twice in my career with a couple of other musicians before. It's fun. It really is so much fun, but to start with, it's a bit of a change of pace. So it's very, very quick. You've got to get your head around all the repeats. There's a certain kind of way that once you get to the end, you've got to go back again, but then you don't do the repeats and this, that, and the other. So especially when you're playing jigs and reels, for example, you know, once you get your head around that kind of thing, it's okay. And playing fast, you've got to kind of, it gives you it's really good. It really does make you think very quickly. You cannot wait around. You cannot stop for things. There are no nuances. If you were playing a piece of romantic music by Chopin or Brahms, whatever, you know, you can wallow a little bit. There's no wallowing in this kind of music. So, you know, you've got that element of things. So far you've got the classical with the technical stuff, you've got your jazz with the keys and your improvisation and the total change of tone with your 12 bar blues, your blues scales and all that kind of thing. And then you've got your fiddle music with the change of pace, the rhythm, the beat, the speed, the relentlessness of it. So each of these genres and each of these categories are all bringing together something completely different, making you a well-rounded musician. Now, I don't personally enjoy playing jazz. I've done it because I want to do a bit of everything, and I want to be that well-rounded musician, and it's something that I was kind of forced to do as I was growing up as a child. Forced in a good way, you know what I'm saying, and I was happy to go along with it, but it wasn't something it was an area that I enjoyed playing. So in my spare time, I would then go and play the pieces that I enjoyed playing. I appreciate I had to learn what I needed to learn. My teacher was always was top of the game, very, very good. So we trusted and went along with that. But, it wasn't my favourite genre, and that's fine. We don't all love everything we do, but we know we have to do it, and I appreciate it because it gives me the knowledge that I need now, rather than sort of only going down one route, being very tunnel focused and tunnel vision, that I only know one thing about one thing and I don't know anything about anything else because I'm just too arrogant and egotistical to learn about jazz or anything that I don't like. So finally, then you've got modern music. So modern music is good. It's not technical. I wouldn't say modern music is technical demanding. And by modern music, I'm talking about, Ed Sheeran, I don't know, trying to think of something off the top of my head, and my head has completely gone blank, but I'll probably put a list of something coming up here. Modern music, the stuff that's in the charts today, Imagine Dragons, Foo Fighters, the Beatles, the old stuff, anything like that, kind of your more modern music, the stuff we're listening to on the radios today, that kind of thing. So we'll categorize modern music as that sort of category. Now that kind of music doesn't really, in my opinion, there's no technical abilities needed for those kind of pieces. There's nothing particularly technically demanding. There may be one or two kind of tricky parts in there, but as a whole, I wouldn't say it's technically demanding. This would also be the kind of music that I would play at a wedding or in the background of a restaurant, something like that. Just nice, modern, easy listening stuff. It's not offensive. Everybody just likes listening to it, that kind of thing. So whether it be anything from the 1970s, 80s, 90s, 2000s and onward, that kind of music that we're talking about. I personally find that kind of music not technically demanding, as I said, but enjoyable. I find it really, really enjoyable to play. I enjoy playing to the backing tracks. I enjoy listening to them. I have them on a playlist on my Alexa at home. So when I'm out and about, or when I'm walking around the house or doing work on my laptop, I'll have my specific playlist. I like music from the kind of 50s, 60s, 70s. I just like old stuff. So I will have that kind of stuff on, and I enjoy playing it as well. And I do put some of those pieces into my wedding repertoire as well. It's not always all about the classical stuff. People don't want to listen to traditional violin and piano. I think there's a time and place for that kind of thing. It can be a bit heavy going for some people. You just want to switch off and just have something on in the background. So because of that, it's quite enjoyable to play. The other reason that makes it enjoyable to play is that it isn't technically demanding. So because it's not technically demanding, you can play it more or less straight away. A couple of goes through, you've nailed it, there's nothing specific. You can also use your culmination of all those technical things you've learned from your other genres, such as classical, jazz, fiddle music, whatever it is that floats your boat. You can use all of that information and incorporate it into these easier pieces. So it's not to say that you're going to be doing loads of different technical bow techniques or anything like that within these within an Ed Sheeran piece or something like that. But you can apply a lot of that to it. But because it is easier music, shall we say, it's achievable in a much shorter space of time than if you were playing one of Paganini's caprices, which are not achievable in a short amount of time, and they are very, very difficult. Some of the most difficult classical pieces to play, and they're great for challenges, they're great for getting better and improving and all that kind of thing, but sometimes I don't want to play that sort of stuff. I don't want to focus on that sort of stuff. I did a lot of that stuff when I was younger. Now I just want to play music. I just want to enjoy music. I don't really want to learn so much anymore. I just want to play and enjoy the skill and the talent that I have. So do you see what I'm saying? Every kind of genre has something that it brings to the table. What one lacks, the other one doesn't, and this, that, and the other. So number 2, as well as all of those techniques from those genres that I was just talking about, it keeps you engaged and focused. And I think it does for me as well, because you're never playing the kind of the same thing twice, because those genres are so different. Number 3. So playing a lot of variety pieces can be a really good learning tool alongside my 1 to 30 violin course or something like that. So yes, there are a lot of classical pieces in my violin course, because it is the best way for me to get across the point I want to get across and get the technical point I want to get across. I can't do that with modern music, for example, because it doesn't have the kind of technical skill involved, and I don't mean that in a kind of derogatory or a negative way. They just don't, because of the simplicity of the piece and and the nature of the piece. I don't want to include any jazz or fiddle music in there, because I don't want to kind of blur the lines between learning the violin and learning different techniques and kind of mixing up genres and getting quite confusing. So it's a nice sideline to modern music, is a nice sideline into accompanying what you're learning in here. And I always found that when I was learning and I was playing a lot of classical music, as similarly to what I've got in the books. In fact, a lot of my songbooks that I've got in this 1 to 30 course are pieces that I personally learnt as I was progressing and as I was learning. So that's where I've taken a lot of inspiration, and that's what I mean when I say this course is a culmination of all my years of education, being a student, doing exams myself, learning for exams and all that kind of thing, and I've put that all in to those books, and that is what I mean when I say it's kind of a culmination of all my years of experience and everything. So another option that you have is to head over to my Patreon page. A lot of people don't know that I've got a Patreon page, and it has almost 1,000 sheets of music that has been arranged for the violin. It's mostly, I would say, 90% modern music. There is a little bit there's a few other kind of genres kind of thrown in there, a little bit of classical, but it's mostly modern music. There's 2 tiers. There's a $5 tier and a $10 tier to Patreon, and depending on what tier level you're in will depend on the benefits. But the $10 tier will give you access to absolutely everything in my back catalogue of music, and that's all the music that I've been arranging over the last 10-11 years that I've been on YouTube, and I've put that into a catalogue, and that gives you access to that. So it's $5 monthly or $10 monthly, depending on what kind of tier level you want to choose. That gives you monthly access to said back catalogue with, off the top of my head, about almost 1,000 sheets of violin music. There's a couple of hundred backing tracks in there as well. There's some easy piano music in there also that you have access to, and also cover songs that I've got on my performance channel of the violin. So there's lots of things on there. So it's not particularly well known that I do have a Patreon page, but I do. Head over to that. I will put link in the description box underneath. There's nothing else that exists like that on the internet for that kind of money that will give you access to that kind of database, and everything has been specifically arranged for violin and for you guys that are watching this channel. So I hope this video has been helpful to you and just given you a little bit of insight on little different genres and just that kind of thing. Thank you very much for watching. All the details will be linked underneath this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.